For those of you that are here for the first time, we're in the middle of a series called Keep Your Love On. It's by Danny Silk. In a couple of weeks, he's going to come into a seminar. It would be great. We are inviting not just our church, but other churches to jump in on that as well. It's a Tuesday evening. And so we're in the middle of this book. It's not just for married couples. It's for anybody that has a relationship in your job, with relatives, in your family, anyone that has a relationship, this book is amazing for. And so last week we started it. This week we're going to go into chapter 2. There's 3 parts, interactive parts of this series. One, we're encouraging everybody to what? Do you guys remember last week we encouraged everybody to buy the book? Very good. So we have books back there. If you haven't gotten a book and we have some left, you can buy it. It's also on Amazon. You can purchase them on Kindle. The other thing that we encourage everyone to do is what? Jump into a group. So it's not just about what you get out of the book yourself, but discuss it with someone else. And then the last thing, what was the last thing? So buy the book, join a group, and go on a date. So take your significant other out on a date and discuss the things that are in this book on how to keep your love on, because love is a choice. How many of you have read through the first chapter or the first 2 chapters? Anyone? Raise your hand high. Raise your hand high if you've read through the first 2 chapters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Only 6 people have read through. See, this is the problem with Hawaii. Like, Hawaii people don't read. I don't know if you notice it or not, but when you go to anywhere that local people hang out, like to the beach and stuff, you never see them reading books. But then as soon as you go to the hotels where all the tourists are, everybody's reading books. But we're going to change that, right? Because you guys are going to read this book because it's an awesome, it will really help. It's a great book. So keep your love on. So today, my mom and my sister are actually going to be the ones that are going to share the message. They're going to interview, my sister's going to interview my mom. It's always a dangerous thing whenever my mom talks in church because you never know what she's going to say. So it's buckle your seatbelts. And right now is the disclaimer. We don't endorse anything that she's saying as far as, I'm just joking. Just don't sue our church after you hear my mom. Okay, so I'm just going to cover real quickly chapter 2 and what chapter 2 talked about. It talked about the 5 love languages. How many of you are familiar with the 5 love languages? Just raise your hand real quick if you're familiar. If you're not familiar, raise your hand. If you're not familiar with the 5 love languages, raise your hand. Everybody else just don't want to raise your hand and participate at all. That's fine. 5 love languages. So Gary Chapman is the author of this book, 5 Love Languages, and what he was marriage counselor for 30 years, and in his 30 years of doing marriage counseling, he found that even though couples had great intent and they loved each other, a lot of times they missed because the way that they gave and received love was different. And just like Spanish is different from Japanese, and different languages are you cannot communicate with different languages. If your love language is different from your loved one, it's very hard to communicate. I remember when Joss and I first got married, and we didn't understand this principle. We didn't read the book. And when we first got married, our first year of marriage, my love language is touch and words of affirmation. I love it when my wife tells me how awesome I am and how smart and how handsome and you're just like the best. And you know, that feeds my ego, makes me feel good. And when she like puts her arms around me and tells me that she loves me, you know, that just fills my love tank. With her, she grew up in a Filipino family that never told each other that they loved each other, never like spoke kind words, weren't very physically affectionate. But her mom did all her laundry for all of the years of her life and spent time with her. She was a stay-at-home mom and cooked her breakfast and dinner. And so her love language was acts of service and quality time. And so when we got together, the way that I would want to show my love is like I would, while she's washing dishes, I would come behind her and like give her a hug and I love you, and she'd be like, shut up and wash these dishes, you know? And I was trying to communicate love to her in the way that I received love, and she was communicating love to me the way that she received love by washing dishes, folding the laundry, you know. I had this one trick because she worked retail for a while in college, and so she folded things perfectly, and I would fold clothes on purpose, ugly, and it would drive her nuts. And so she'd say, never mind, I'm going to do it. Don't touch the laundry. Okay. And that worked all of 3 years. 3 years I didn't have to do laundry at all. And then she caught on. And now I do laundry. So anyway, there's 5 love languages. And these 5 love languages are... okay, we're just going to go straight through them. Number 1, words of affirmation. So how many of you are word people? You like when somebody tells you how awesome you are, they tell you that they love you. Words of affirmation. Okay, number 2, what's the second? Quality time. So quality time is undistracted time. It's not just spending time together. It's undistracted time, putting technology down, putting the phone down, not talking with friends or watching a movie, but it's just hanging out and giving someone your undivided attention, letting them know that you're there. So how many of you, quality time is your love language? Raise your hand if that's your love language. Wow, that's a lot. Okay, awesome. Next one. Receiving and giving of gifts. So this is one that a lot of people have, and more times than often, it's the woman that has this one. And if the guys don't show their love, then they're going to show their love to themselves by going shopping and going on or Amazon spree. But how many of you, giving or receiving gifts is your love language? Raise your hand. Gifts. Okay, awesome, cool, wow. There's some guys that have that gift. Okay, so, one thing that I want to say about these love languages is sometimes they change. So, a lot of kids, they receive love by gifts, and then as you get older, that might not be, the dominant love language, but they can change. And so even in your own relationship, realize that the love language of your spouse can change over time, and always learn what your partner's morphing into. Okay, next one, language 4. Acts of service, doing things you know your partner would like you to do. So one little hint, how many of you, this is your love language, that you just love it when your partner serves you in some way, shape, or form? Wow, so quality time seems like the biggest one, and then the second biggest one seems like this acts of service. Yesterday, my wife was asking me to trim the hedges and to cut down the trees, and I was sick, and so I said, I'll do it tomorrow, because tomorrow is Mother's Day, not today, so I'll do it today. So this is just a hint. If this is your love language, don't, be mean and do the dishes now. Would you please do the dishes? That's a nicer way to do it. Or oh yeah, okay, fine, yeah, I worked all day, I cooked the meal, I did all this, I can put away the dishes too, I can put away all the food too, fine, yeah, I can do that. How many of you do that? Yeah, I think a lot of us do that. Okay, so language 5, the last one is physical touch. Hugs, kisses, sex, if you're married, and this is one that, love is a choice. So love is a choice. Everyone say, love is a choice. Okay, so love is a choice. Emotions aren't going to always be there, and so sometimes you're going to have to do things that feel like a chore, but if you love a person, and a lot of people say, if I don't feel it, I'm not going to do it because that's hypocritical. It's not. That's love. Right? Love is a choice. Love is an action. It's not an emotion. And so the older you get in your relationship and the more accustomed that you are to each other, it can be easy to take the other person for granted and then not do something because you don't feel it. But as we get older in our relationships, we do things because it's the right thing to do and because we truly love our spouse and make that decision to love them the way that they receive love, not the way that we like to give it. How many of you know your spouse's love language? Raise your hand if you know your spouse's love language. I'm not going to make you raise your hand if you don't know your spouse's love language, but it's our job to learn it, right? Okay, so lesson number 3, how to discover your love language. And Sharina and Mom, you guys can get ready to come up because this is the last thing. So how to discover your love language. What does your partner fail to do that causes you the most pain? What does your partner fail to do that causes you the most pain? Whatever that is, that's probably your love language. What have you requested from your partner the most? That's probably your love language. And how do you express love to your partner? So the way that we give love is the way that we would like to receive love. And so these are ways that we can figure out our love language and the language of our spouse and begin to communicate and fill their love tank in the way that they receive it. So how many of you are going to do that this week? A good assignment this week to know your partner's love language and then to give them the love that they can receive. All right. Mom, Sharina, why don't you guys give a hand for Sharina and my mom.
Well, we're here today to talk about mothers, and I want to honor all the moms and the different ways that mothers mother. There's birth moms, adoptive moms, foster moms, grandmothers who are raising their children, single moms, there are stepmoms. And when I think of stepmoms, I think of one of the ladies in our church, Rem Rossetti, who's over there. And I think she's got a picture that we can share. Okay, this is so cool. Okay, Rem is with the red, and they are parenting Elijah. Rem is the stepmom, and Leilani there is Elijah's mom. And they have developed a very close friendship that I think many stepmoms and mothers would love to have. But Leilani was huge in helping Rem come to know Jesus, and they went on a trip to Florida together and then to New York. Lei had a award from her work, and her husband couldn't make it, so she invited Rem to go with her. And because Rem had never been to the East Coast, they also went up to the East Coast. And I saw this on Facebook, and I texted Rem, and I was like, this is such a beautiful picture of an amazing relationship and moms at their best, putting aside differences and having a deep friendship to raise a young child. And God is so good with that. So I'd like to also take a moment to honor all of the women in our lives who mentor us. You may not be a birth mom, but you have invested and given your life to the women in your lives and have spoken life and wisdom and advice into many of the young women who are here. And then for some of us in the room, today's a little bit of a difficult day. Maybe you lost your mom, or your relationship with your mom is broken. Maybe you've been walking through infertility or lost a child. Maybe you've longed to be a mother and that just hasn't been the path of your life. Or maybe your children don't show the affection and love that you would appreciate. And so we want to just say that you're brave to show up today, and we're glad that you're here. And I just want to say a prayer, so let's pray together. Thank you, Lord, for every person in this room. We know that you can see everything that we carry, the good things, the hard things, and we come to you this morning with all that we have. We thank you for loving us unconditionally and for the gift that it is to be together and celebrate Mother's Day. In your name we pray. Amen. Okay, I'd like to call up my mom. You ready? Mom? This is kind of scary for me because you got her mic. Well, maybe you can keep it off. Try.
Sharina's having cold feet already.
I know. She makes me nervous sometimes. Okay, so my mom and dad started this church about 45 years ago, and my mom had a heart for her family. She's a Maui girl, Shimabukuro family, grew up here in Happy Valley area. No. Where did you grow up?
Sprecklesville, Camp 2.
Camp 2, Punene, right? No.
Punene.
Anyways.
Sprecklesville.
And she loved her family here and wanted to start a church and reach out to her family. My older brother, John, who you heard earlier, is the senior pastor here. My younger brother leads worship and operations at our Wailuku campus that meets over at Iao. And then the big white guy is my husband. And then the Hapahauli kids in there are ours. We got 5 little ones. We always joke that my dad was born wearing a suit. Like, he's very studious and serious. And then my mom is a loose cannon. So here's a picture of her when she was a kid. That's her on the small one right there, making a funny kind face.
The terror of the neighborhood. All the parents says, don't play with that Shimabukuro girl. I'm the younger one.
Mom smoked. She pumped gas at her dad's gas station and got into a lot of trouble. But God miraculously brought these two together, and with their love for Jesus and their love for people, they started this Maui church. So it's very rare that Mom shares. And so I'm here to be a little bit of a filter for you. So sound team, when I go like this, that means turn it off.
You don't have to listen to her when I talk about her.
Because I don't want her to go to jail and incriminate herself with anything. So anyways. My mom and I have been leading a women's Bible study together on Wednesday nights with over 40 women coming out. It's been a huge blessing to minister together. So we're going to share some of the things that we've been sharing in our women's group. Can you guys see us? Is this odd to be down here? Do you want us to hop up there? Would that be easier to see? Stand up? Okay, we're going to stand. Okay, here we go. Nervous. Okay. My mom parents unconventionally. As a kid, she read my diary, chaperoned every event that I went to, like for banquets. She would always be there. So smart guys would bring me flowers and my mom flowers. She substitute taught, but only in the classes that we had. She would select the classes. So we show up to school and there's my mom sitting in the chair teaching my class. She sat behind me on my first date. Her and Dad were like throwing popcorn.
That's because we read your diary and you were going to go out with this guy when you were not permitted to date. And so we went to the theater.
Okay, we're moving on. I could go on.
You were
and
busted.
On.
And Jonathan, the older brother, said, I give you 2 weeks to tell Mom and Dad about that guy or else I'll tell them.
Yes, John was the...
But he didn't have to because you got dumped. The guy broke her heart, and she learned a lesson.
Can you see why I am so nervous to be up here right now? Okay, what do you want to say? Go. Just say whatever. That's it. I had some questions, but I guess we're not going to get there. All right.
Parents, God is powerful. You can trust God to do things, even when they disobey and break your rules.
Okay, one more thing she did was anytime I was on the phone, she's like a tech whiz. She somehow hooked up the phone to the speaker system in our living room. So I'd be like walking to my room, get on the phone, and I'm talking to my friends, or a boy. And then she'd like broadcast. I come out, and the whole family is sitting around the living room listening to me talk on the phone.
And the guy would go, oh, Sharina, I really like you.
Stick to the script. Stop.
She'd go, oh.
Okay.
So she'd come into the parlor, and we'd all be sitting there, and we'd all be smiling, and we'd say, oh, Sharina, you're so pretty. And she goes, what?
I think she never wants to speak again. Okay, moving on. We thought my parents had a perfect relationship because we never saw them fight. And we felt so secure and loved. So maybe you can share a little bit about that.
So we continued that rule of not fighting with our kids when they got married. And we said, we don't want to ever see you fight. So they have been really good about that. They don't fight in front of us. But I kind of regret it because then we don't hear all the stuff that goes on.
Share about your relationship. Yeah, you and Dad wouldn't fight in front of us and had that rule. And talk about that a little bit more.
We wanted to create...
Oh, and protecting the kids from the drama of church, ministry, and life.
We wanted to create a family. Asato, that word means house of peace. And so we decided early on never to fight in front of the kids. And I wanted the kids to really adore their dad like I adored my dad. My mom raised me just to believe that she would always say the happiest day of my life was when I married your dad and that he chose me. And so I just adored my dad because my mom didn't show me his negative qualities. I never heard my father swear, and I never saw my father sick in bed, ever, one day of his life. He never even went to the dentist. So you can imagine, all the way up through high school, I thought he was God. I really thought he was God. And anything he said, I believed until I became a Christian, of course. So you can imagine when I married Eddie and we were in Disneyland for our honeymoon. And Disneyland, I've never been off this rock. I'm just a country bumpkin. So we're in Disneyland. He says, I think we have to leave. I said, why? He says, I have a migraine. I said, migraine? What is that? How come you never told me about that? I didn't even know what a migraine was, and I married a guy. I said, how often do you have these? He goes, every week. I go, what? I said, can't you just sit down and rest and get over this migraine headache? I didn't know how painful it was. So I had no compassion for that, but he survived without my compassion. So I found out my father was not God, but I really wanted him to be adored by our children. So I would do, and a pastor's wife told me that it's a wife's responsibility to create that home of peace. And so have all the children, disciplined, and don't say, you wait till your father comes home and then you're going to get it. Don't pass on those responsibilities of spanking and discipline to the husband. Well, this is during the days when mom stayed home at work, so that's a filter, right? So they love their dad. They love their dad till this day. They think he's perfect. So I accomplished my job.
Let's see.
My dad would come home every day from work, and he would sing my name. He'd sing either Susie Q or Oh, Susanna. And, you saw that picture of me in The Terror of the Neighborhood. And the reason I don't know why I turned like that, but my dad was so wonderful. So I encourage you dads, sing to your daughters. That'll do amazing things for them.
I remember one thing that most parents would tell their kids to listen to their authorities in their life. But I think growing up in the church, we had so many aunties and uncles. I would hear all the time, like, Sharina, sit like a lady. Or,
because she sat like a frog.
Or your hair is messy, go fix your hair. Or your teeth is yellow, and all this kind of stuff. And so my mom came to me. I think she kind of picked up on all of this. And she was like, you know what? You don't have to listen to everybody. Just listen to me. Like, I am the one that matters. You don't have to listen to everybody. And I think that she knew, like, how to parent each one of us. And that's something so unconventional, because you tell your kids, listen to your authorities. But my mom did it differently. But then she's also, like, super hardcore, because I come to church and she, like, you dress like you were just surfing at the beach. Why don't you dress a little bit nicer? So I wore a dress today.
Hey, you get an A+.
Or I wear flip-flops and I'm on stage doing announcements, and she's like, you shouldn't be in slippers. So the next Sunday I came and I went barefoot in my shorts and T-shirt on stage.
That's why I read her diaries.
So when we were younger, they were very kind of tight and legalistic, and they were like, John cannot wear jeans to church. He has to wear, like, nice slacks. And so every Sunday he would be like, I want to wear my jeans, I want to wear my jeans. And they said, no, you cannot wear jeans, wear your slacks. And he's like, well, Sharina wears a jean skirt. How come I can't wear jeans? And my mom's like, you can wear a jean skirt if you want. And that Sunday, John had a trumpet solo on stage and showed up in my jean skirt in front of the whole church. And then after that, you let him wear jeans,
Yeah,
right?
well, Dad spanked him for that.
But I do remember, like, if our car breaks down or dishwasher busts, her comments are like, have you been tithing? Because, God's going to take what's his if you don't give it to him. Or I go to her for advice, and I'm like, Mom, I'm really, like, trying to make this decision, and I need godly counsel. What do you have to say? And she's like, Jonah got swallowed by the whale when he didn't listen to God. Like, that's, like, the typical mom quotes that we get.
So back to the people in the church being able to spank us, my kids. We started this church coming from Honolulu with nothing, no money. We came with a typewriter. And so we were so excited. And there was a time when we had 18 people, young people who just believed in the vision of starting the church, and we call it community living. We all lived in the same house, and everybody gave their cars, their whole paycheck, because we wanted to start a Christian school as well. So we didn't have money to pay the teachers. So the people who had really high salaries, they gave the whole thing. We were able to spread all the money out, and we lived together, and it was wonderful. And then we had like 5 to 6, 7 households, and Gay Wetter was way back then living in one of the households with her 5 boys. And there was a time when we lived in Pukalani, and another family moved from Honolulu. They needed a place to stay. And she just loved the whole idea of community living. So she didn't really understand what it meant, but she knew that community, everything is shared. So we're family. So your children are my children. And she didn't have any children. So she thought she could spank my children. And I said, no, you are not able to spank my children. And, I lay down the law. In community, nobody can discipline my children. I'm the mother. So that's the reason why. But I'm so thankful to those people in the beginning that started this church, gave their all, and lived with us for 7 years. And we were able to, there's so many miracles in this planting of the church, but we're not talking about that today. So many that can't be numbered.
Talk about spanking. Talk about your temper.
Okay, my temper. Before I was a Christian, you saw me as a neighborhood terror. And I would want to play marbles with the boys and my brother, and they would just say, go home, and pick up rocks and throw it at me. And so I would go and kick all their marbles out. Then I went to the girls' homes, and they had nice doll houses on the porch, and I wanted to play. They wouldn't let me play because I'm the neighborhood terror. So they would go in for lunch, and I'd bust all their doll houses up. So my whole life was like destructive, temper and everything. And then I became a Christian. So my temper left. It was gone. I was so happy. I even forgot that I smoked. And I really did. I forgot that I smoked until I smelled the cigarettes about a month, 2 months later. Then I remembered, wow, and I was trying to quit smoking. In fact, I would go to church and I didn't understand a single word that they were saying. But the presence of God was so strong. I just said, God, I give you my whole life. I just love you so much. And if I ever smoke a cigarette again, just kill me. As soon as I drive out of the church parking lot onto Leaky Leaky Freeway, I'm lighting up a cigarette. Then I'm thinking, oh, is he going to kill me? I'm looking up in the sky. I had no power to overcome those things in my life until I really, really came into a relationship with Christ, and that smoking habit was gone. My temper was gone until I got children. And for some reason, it came back. And I found myself like spanking them in anger uncontrollably and just whack, 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 whack. And then they couldn't talk. So we'd come to church, and I would get Sharina's cheeks, and I would twist it. I was just like grinding my teeth and just twist her till it's black and bluish. And we'd come to church, and church people would say, oh, did you fall down? And she couldn't say, no, my mom twisted my cheek. And Eddie had no recollection. He had no idea what was going on at home. I was a princess when he came home, just like my mom was a princess when my dad came home. But during the day, I was out of control. And I kind of hate telling these stories because I don't want them to get real deep scars, from hearing it. But I got Jonathan. He was less than maybe 2 years old, whining and asking questions all the time. Why? And I'm driving the car at night, and he's like asking all these questions. It's getting on my nerves. I grabbed him while I'm driving, and I flew him down on the floor. And the look on his face was, Mommy, how come you threw me down on the floor? But I was out of control. But I came to a point, it was escalating, getting worse and worse and worse, and longer during the day. As soon as he left, that's when it turned on. And so I got desperate, and I started praying. As soon as I woke up in the morning, I'd kneel on the side of my bed, and just say, God, please take away this temper because the kids are going to start talking pretty soon. So I knew my days were numbered, but more than that was funny, but actually I was really a monster at home. I was hating myself. I would kneel down and pray, and she and John would open the door. Mommy, they're hungry. They want breakfast. Mommy, I said, shut that door! You want your mother to be like this? I'm praying. Okay. They closed the door and they got to fend for themselves. That went on until we went to a church camp that month. And one night God was just really moving. So they said, if you want to keep, stay, we'll just leave the hall open, turn the lights off, and you can pray all night. So some of us stayed back and we prayed. And I was screaming at the top of my lungs, speaking in tongues, which we do, our heavenly language. And I was crying out to God, God, take away this terrible anger, this temper of mine. I'm killing my children and I'm a terrible monster. I'm a pastor's wife. Please get rid of this. And in 30 days, exactly, I kept praying every single day on my knees like that. On the 30th day, it was gone forever. And I could spank in joy. I could say, the Bible says, so bend over and whop. And so one day, he was in intermediate school, John.
Okay,
I got to tell that.
No, we got time. We don't have time.
It's spanking.
I know. We're not going to talk about that.
Okay.
One thing she didn't share is that we don't remember anything. Like, by God's grace, John and I don't remember anything about her. Maybe it's, like, super deep, and we need, like, counseling or something. But we don't remember that. Like, God has just graced us with helping you work through that without us being a part of it.
It's a miracle.
So God can deliver people from smoking, from temper and anger, and so many things that God has the power to transform our lives. But even though he's doing that, we're all in process, and there's always something to work on. Nobody's perfect. So do you want to share your Up to you. Ladies who know my mom and are in her small group, this is the Costco story. What do you guys think? Is it okay? It's okay? Okay, we got it okay. Go for it.
All right. I was raised in Kalihi. That might not mean anything to you, but I had all these surroundings. And so Jocelyn is from Kalihi. Where is she? Anyway, I said, didn't you have problems about stealing and stuff? And she goes, no, I'm a good girl. I never got into trouble. So Kalihi is not the reason. But anyway, I've thought about this a lot. I'll tell you the story, and then I'll tell you why I do things like that. But I was in Costco one day, and I was coming out of the store, and I noticed there was a case of beer. And I looked around, and I thought, I'm going to take it. So I picked it up.
It was on the bottom of a shopping cart in, like, the cart corral. So, like, someone forgot it. They had loaded their car, and it was in the cart corral.
So I loaded up this case of beer, and I'm walking to my car.
And she doesn't even drink.
I don't even
and
drink.
She's taking this.
I don't even know why I took it. I just thought, I'm going to take it. Maybe I was going to sell it on something, or I don't know. So I'm walking up to my car, and there's two church ladies that are coming to me. And they go, hi, Susan. And they go, oh, hi. And I said, oh, yeah, somebody forgot it. I'm taking it back, but I'm heading up away from the store to my car. So lie upon lie upon lie. And they go, okay, bye. And I go into my car, stupid. Why'd you ever do that? But you know what? God engineered that. That was the last day I ever did something that stupid. And you know, Costco isn't that long ago, right? So this is after the kids are even gone and grown, and I'm still struggling with stealing and things like that.
I love that story.
And now, you know, I get thoughts that come to my head. We're in Makawa walking through, and I see all these beautiful succulents, and the thought comes, let's come at night and take it. Then I think, oh, you dumb enemy, you know, you have no power over me anymore. I'm not going to do that. I'm not even tempted anymore. So I'll tell him,
She comes to family dinner and she's like, does anybody have like thoughts of stealing? And we all look at her and everyone's like, no. She's like, I thought it was normal. Like everybody thinks like this.
So I would tell him what my thoughts are and he would just shake his head.
So I think many of you think, oh, this sweet, quiet pastor's wife, Auntie Susan. But the theme that I want to leave with you today is that as a mom, no one is perfect. We have flaws, strongholds, days that we are not at our best, but God has the power to work through our weakness, to change us, to transform us, and to bring out good from the bad in our lives if we surrender fully to Him. So today I want to just pray a prayer over all of the moms here.
Okay, wait. I said I was going to tell them why
I do things. Okay. There's a why. Oh, no.
Well, I wanted to share 2 scriptures with you because one I found that I didn't know was in the Bible. And it's really a helpful thing for me. I mean, I don't really need the help anymore because I'm delivered. But it says Leviticus 6, verse 3 and 4. I was surprised to find this. It says, if they find lost property and lie about it, or if they swear falsely about any such sin that people may commit, when they sin in any of these ways and realize their guilt, they must return what they have stolen or taken by extortion or what was entrusted to them or the lost property that they found. So that's so clear that, in Hawaii, it's like, finders keepers, right? But so it's not like that. And then the reason why I was like that growing up and through my life, I really feel it's this scripture that says, a child left to himself brings shame to his mother. And I really was left to myself. My parents were working so hard. They left us alone a lot. And my older brother and my older sister, they had their own thing to do. So I was left alone a lot. And that's what I got into all kinds of shameful things. So parents, try not to leave I really followed them and shadowed them, but they still turned out to be kind of naughty at times. And I find out in John's sermons how naughty they were when I didn't know, but I tried to be there all the time. So a child left to himself bringeth shame.
Okay, let's pray. Do you want to pray a blessing over the moms? Okay. Thank you for sharing today. You can't go yet. You're not gone.
She doesn't surf anymore before church.
I know, because I got blown out one day and missed church completely. I got stranded out in the water. The winds came up, and after that, she was like, you cannot surf before church anymore. So I was stand-up paddling. Okay. Going. You going to pray? Oh, okay. All right, let's pray. Father God, we just want to thank you for the work that you do in our lives and the things that still hold us captive that only you know. And Father, I just pray that you would shower your blessing and your love on the moms that are here, for all of the women in this room, that we would know that we are fully loved and accepted by you in our weakness, in our faults, in the days that are not so good, that you love us. Like my mom talked about her dad, a father that loves unconditionally, who sings your name, and that through that, Lord, the love that you pour on us, that we would be able to love the people that you've put into our lives. And we just thank you. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, before you go, I just want to take a moment to honor my mom. She sometimes drives me nuts, but and she always gets her way. So I want to show you a picture here. She asked our family to get dressed up in kimonos because she loves the Okinawan culture. And I thought, there's no way in the world this is going to happen. So I went to my husband and I was like, you're not going to do this, are you? And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll do anything for your mom. So we all had to get dressed up. And then here's the next picture. She uses this picture as her Facebook profile, and she says crazy things. She comments crazy things to everybody, and it's my picture that is on there. And I'm like, can you please take my picture down, because it looks like I'm the one saying all those crazy things, but she just loves it, so she keeps it up. Let's see here. Oh, how did that get in there? That's Pastor John in his Speedo. Oh, that's Pastor John in his bibbidi.
Uh-oh.
Thanks, you guys.
That's when we were living with 18 people.
Okay, this was Mom's birthday wish. She wanted her 3 children to learn how to play the samisen. So we agreed to do 1 lesson. So I think there's a video if you want to show that video.
Hey, together! That's 3 of you. What are you doing?
He thinks he's so bad. He
wants to
play all by himself, nobody else. Come on. He's just sitting over there.
Start together. Sit up. Okay, ready. Find your first note. Ready, go.
Someone, why are you running away? You're running away. We have something for you.
That was the happiest day of my life to see my 3 darlings playing the samisen.
My mom is the glue that keeps our family together. She insists on family dinners every Sunday night. And the other week, I texted everybody. I'm like, we're tired. We're going to pass. And they all showed up anyways. Nobody listened to me, came to our house, and got going. One thing that I think about that I think is cool is my mom she loves the in-laws, like all the people that we married. And I always thought, like, because I'm the daughter, we have this special bond, and maybe the daughter-in-laws feel left out somehow. And so I asked them, I was like, do you guys ever feel left out, like with my mom and I, when we all go out together and stuff? And they were like, are you kidding me? We feel like we're the favorite ones, not you guys. And that she does special things, like with my little brother's wife, they go shoot guns together. Like that's the thing that they share and they do. And so she treats everybody and loves on everyone. And I think one thing, like I've noticed as I've gotten older and been around a lot of different families is, anytime I would complain about John, like I would come home and I'd be like, he's driving me nuts and blah, blah, blah. They would always stick up for him and be like, your brother loves you so much and he's done all these things for you. And they never talked bad about John to me or David to me to make me feel like we're in this competition to be the favorite child, and never put insecurities in our hearts. Because I think if they would have said all this stuff about John to me, then I would feel like, they're talking stink about me to my brothers, and it would be this big competition. But we felt like they have done such a good job of protecting the family, keeping the family close, and doing the right things that I think help us to...
Yeah, so it continues to the grandchildren, and they all feel like they're the favorite. So we always get together, 11 grandchildren, and they always say, Grandma, who's your favorite? And then Riley always says, Grandma, I'm your favorite, right? And so one day I got them together and they said, Grandma, who's your favorite? I said, okay, let's just start with Alexis since she's the oldest, and I'll tell you why each one is.
No, we're not going to do that either. We're not going to do that. No, you don't want to hear that one. Okay. So, we have... Wow, not holding your mic. Okay, let's play the Mother's Day video. You guys got that?
This spring, only one hero can save her family and prevent disaster.
Mom, we're gonna be late for school!
I don't think so. Whoa.
Experience the phenomenon that critics are calling inspiring.
Mom, I can't find number 17!
Come on, Billy! Dig deep!
A lot of fun. And pure genius.
Mom, where's my phone?
Table.
Keys.
Mudroom.
Dragon Man?
Under the couch between the monkey and the flip-flop.
How does she do that?
Created by God to demonstrate his love with grace, elegance, and poise.
Have you seen my butane torch?